Today's sketch is once again for student ministry leaders in a Pursue God church. And we're going to answer this question. What qualifies you to lead a student group? Okay, so whether you're an adult leader or a student leader, how do you know if you're qualified? Remember, in a Pursue God student ministry, student groups are at the center of the picture. Student groups are the most important thing in a student ministry, because it's in the student group where full circle students, full circle followers of Jesus are produced. As you're covering topics in those student groups, the student leader is making disciples, so they're in the third leg of the circle, and they're helping other students to either trust Jesus or to live to honor God in their life, the first two legs of that circle. So student groups are factories for full circle followers of Jesus. So I want you to consider these three questions if you're thinking about your qualifications, you personally, whether an adult leader or a student leader. Are you qualified to lead such an important group? The first question is real simple. Do you love people? And in particular, since this is student ministry, do you love students, junior hires or high schoolers? Right? Because after all, Jesus was asked by the Pharisees back in the day in Matthew 22, what's the greatest commandment? And he answered with this. He said, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind. That's the first commandment. And then he said this, but the second is equally important. You have to love your neighbor as yourself. So if you're a follower of Jesus, it's supremely important that you love people. You're not doing it just out of a sense of obligation. You're not doing it because somebody's making you do it. You're doing it because you love people and you want to help people. So it's pretty obvious that that's going to be important. Paul said it like this in 1 Corinthians 13. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. In other words, he says it would be pretty pointless. And if you read this chapter, what he's talking about is in the context of a church, or in your case of a youth ministry. It doesn't matter how gifted you are. It doesn't matter how special you are. If you're a great preacher, whatever, if you're a great musician, the most important thing is that you love people. So don't forget that. The first qualification is, do you love people? Do you love students enough that you want to invest in them and lead a student group? Now, the next two qualifications come from this image, right? We're all pursuing God, which means we're all trying to go full circle. A student leader is working on the third leg, right? A student leader is helping others by leading a student group. So obviously, before you get to the third thing, you have to ask, have I gotten to the first thing? Before you can help others, you need to make sure that you've trusted Jesus for salvation, right? So back to our three questions. Question number 2 is pretty simple. Have you trusted Jesus for salvation? Now, if you're watching this video and you know for sure, yeah, I've put my faith in Christ, I understand what that means. That's great. But it could be the case that you're watching this and you're saying, I'm not totally sure what that means. And if you're not, make sure to talk to a youth pastor or a mentor about trusting Jesus. Now, back to that full circle image, another prerequisite of helping others, discipling someone in a student group, is you better be living in a way that honors God. Because after all, if you're helping someone in a student group, you're trying to help them to trust Jesus and honor God. And so if you're not living this out, then you'd be a hypocrite to try to lead other students to where you aren't even yourself. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, are you honoring God in your lifestyle, in your choices? Now, I don't want you to think that we're trying to be legalistic here. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. The question isn't, are you perfect? The question isn't, do you still make mistakes? You're still going to sin. You're still going to make mistakes. That's true for all of us. The real question is your life consistently showing a pattern of honoring God with your choices? Is there another way to ask this question is there any unrepentant sin in my life that I know is wrong, and yet I continue to do it no matter what anybody says, right? So if you have some unrepentant sin in your life, I don't think you're ready to lead a student group. So those are the three questions that you need to ask to know if you're qualified to lead a student group. Do you love people? Have you trusted Jesus? Are you honoring God? Talk this through with a group or a mentor before you move forward in your training.